Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau provides a preview of the Liberal government's fall election campaign strategy, which seems to involve portraying everyone right of centre as a climate-denying white nationalist who hates the poor. Is Canadian political discourse sinking to a brand new low? I'm your host, B.A. Jarvis, and you're watching The Golden Door. Alright, we're back, and today we're looking at a short news story published by the CBC that shows Justin Trudeau road testing some political attacks almost 6 months ahead of the Canadian federal election. It has not been a great year so far for Justin Trudeau, as he continues to be dogged by a seemingly endless scandal involving alleged political interference into the prosecution of Canadian construction giant SNC-Lavalin over corruption in their dealings with the former Gaddafi regime in Libya. As polls continue to show the increased likelihood that Trudeau will be a one-and-done prime minister as both his party and personal popularity continue to decline, it appears that desperation is starting to take hold. Let's take a look. As reported by the CBC last Friday, Trudeau road test campaign attacks that lump Scheer and Doug Ford with the alt-right. Liberals fighting Liberals only helps Andrew Scheer, says PM. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau road-tested his campaign strategy Friday, lumping Conservative leader Andrew Scheer with Ontario Premier Doug Ford and other right-of-centre politicians who deny climate change, vilify immigrants, and tolerate white nationalists. In a 25-minute speech to supporters at the Toronto suburb of Mississauga that mentioned Ford as much as it did Scheer, Trudeau criticized the recently released Ontario budget and warned how it could be reflected on the federal stage. Ford announced his first budget loaded with cuts. Cuts to services for farmers, cuts to services for Franco-Ontarians, for seniors, for post-secondary students, for Indigenous peoples, for children, and for all those who rely on community social services. Shame, Trudeau said. Andrew Scheer takes his cues from the Ontario Premier, so Canadians can expect much of the same if he ever gets elected. Cuts to the Canada Child Benefit, cuts to the National Housing Strategy, cuts to the OAS and to CPP enhancements, and on climate change in particular. He's no better. Ford's budget did make a number of cuts to programs and services, but they were less than they were expected, and the provincial government is still running a deficit of almost $12 billion. Trudeau also criticized Ford's environmental record. He pointed out the Ontario government recently fired the province's chief scientist, scrapped mandatory emissions tests for cars, killed Ontario's cap-and-trade system for greenhouse gas emissions, and is using public money to fight the federal carbon pricing plan in court. Andrew Scheer said the first thing he'll do if elected as Prime Minister is to make pollution free again. He wants us to take us back to Stephen Harper's decade of inaction. Trudeau also said that, in contrast, the first thing his government did on getting elected in 2015 was to increase taxes for the wealthiest 1% of Canadians and cut taxes for the middle class. You want to talk about for the people, that's for the people, Trudeau said, mocking Doug Ford's often used political catchphrase. The Prime Minister lumped Scheer in with the rising conservative populist movement globally that Trudeau says has successfully turned anger into political support that wins elections. Why worry about climate change, they say, when immigrants are taking your jobs? Andrew Scheer conveniently fails to call out alt-right conspiracy theories. Andrew Scheer fought against a non-binding motion to denounce Islamophobia. Andrew Scheer has proudly spoken at the same rallies as white nationalists. Is that someone who will govern for all Canadians? I don't think so. The comment about sharing a stage with white nationalists refers to Scheer's appearance at the pro-pipeline rally United We Roll on Parliament Hill in February. One of the speakers was a former Rebel Media and alt-right personality who has since been fired from Rebel Media and banned from Facebook for her extremist views. Trudeau also asked supporters to come together to fight Scheer, referencing the infighting in his party over the SNC-Lavalin affair. Liberals fighting Liberals only helps Andrew Scheer, Trudeau said. So there are so many disingenuous statements here that it's hard to know what to criticize, but I do want to point out that the alt-right personality referred to here is Faith Goldie, who I mentioned in a previous video, which I encourage you to watch and will be linking up top. If you've already watched it, you'll know that she was fired from Rebel in 2017 and it has nothing to do with the United We Roll campaign. I also cannot recall anyone from the political right of center claiming that immigrants are stealing our jobs, as we are a country almost made up entirely of immigrants and rely on immigration to maintain a population due to our low birth rate. Let me know in the comments section what you think, but this whole article reminds me of a quote by Albert Maisley's, "Tyranny is the deliberate removal of nuance." For anyone outside of Canada who is watching, our election cycles are extremely short in comparison to our southern neighbors, so going on the attack this early is a bold and potentially ill-advised political move. I honestly don't remember news or political debate being this partisan in the past, and I have a feeling it has something to do with the amount of news and politics that the average Canadian consumes from the United States, because since the election of Donald Trump in 2016, the polarization seems to be getting worse and worse. I really wish that the Canadian mainstream media would focus less on the opinion-based journalism and more on objective reporting of the facts, as in the age of social media, we certainly have enough opinions being shared to cover the various perspectives, although the level of informed opinion is always questionable. Also, for anyone curious about learning more about the SNC-Lavalin controversy, I will eventually be posting a video that provides a summary of the labyrinthian scandal, because even for Canadians who have been paying attention, the ins and outs have been hard to follow, and it seems that every time we turn around there's a new development or important bit of historical context being revealed. So it's going to be a long video and will take quite a lot of time to produce, but let me know in the comments section if this is something you're interested in seeing, and I'll try and bump it up on the priority list. Alright, as always, thanks very much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, and until next time, you have been watching The Golden Door.